Tracy's known for her innovation. She's also known for her getting her hands dirty. We're thrilled to have her as an ally. Tracy will be leading this panel, and she will be introducing the person who will start the panel as soon as she is here. Thank you, Tracy Nichols.
Well, thank you very much, everyone. It's a pleasure being here. I've worked with Cleveland a lot in my previous job as Director of Economic Development, recognizing that immigrants and refugees could be a huge part of the workforce for the city of Cleveland. And I know that if you know Joe Simperman as I do, he has taken me on many a field trip to other cities to show me what they're doing and saying, Tracy, can we do this? So I appreciate that so much, and I know we were just in Buffalo last year, and we looked at a really cool immigrant incubator that provided kitchen facilities for people to be able to, as you know, if you start a business, you can't get a bank loan for at least 2 years. And so people needed an opportunity to be able to have some of the fixtures and equipment to be able to start their business. Then after 2 years, they could roll out of there and provide a lovely restaurant in another location. So we went there at Weedy to the Market Bazaar, and it was an incredible place. And I will tell you, it is part of the mayor's initiative to do a similar incubator. So Joe, as usual, your leadership has helped us move forward. Today, I'm very excited. I want to introduce Jacob Durinsky from Team NEO. And I'm really looking forward to his presentation today because I know it's called International Talent as a Regional Economic Driver. And I've got to say that to me this is a very important topic. So Jacob, who is the Vice President of Strategy and Research, is going to share his findings. And he's responsible for Team NEO's research for strategy and, his research to support the Cleveland Plus region's business attraction efforts, including analyzing data for medium to large company attraction efforts, spatial display, and analysis of data with Esri, ArcView, GIS, industry and occupation-based research, target industries and value chain identification, and marketing support. So he's wicked smart. Jacob has taken Team NEO's research on the region's most in-demand positions and done an analysis of the international talent pool that can meet those demands. So please join me in welcoming Jacob to the podium to present his findings. Jacob, appreciate it. I'm looking forward to walk over there so I can watch it too. Great. Thank you.
Good morning. So I'm going to try to do 4 things in about 8 or 9 minutes, so bear with the quick presentation. But we'll briefly talk about Team NEO and why talent matters to us, what we do, how we use it. Some demographic and economic challenges that are facing Northeast Ohio. We heard a lot of great stuff today, but there are some fundamental realities we have to face. The misalignment that we see between the needs of employers and the types of degrees we're conferring on people inside the region, sort of the last question or the last session. And then finally, how international talent can possibly be a solution to that. So aligning opportunities in Northeast Ohio is actually the title of a report that we'll talk about at the end of this. But who is Team NEO? Well, briefly, we are a private sector collaboration, ourselves, our chamber partners, the State Economic Development Group, Jobs Ohio, that works to really advance and accelerate regional economic competitiveness for the region that we consider Northeast Ohio. When we talk Northeast Ohio, we talk 18 counties. We're unique in that we have 4 major metro areas so close to one another. So you've got Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Youngstown. Elizabeth, in her discussion, talked about us being the 12th largest market. Viewed this way, we are the 12th largest market. Viewed individually, the largest market is Cleveland at 32nd. So, collectively, much more buying and selling power. We make up about 40% of the state. So organizationally, as we think about talent, as the system thinks about talent, why is it so important? Well, outside of access to customers and suppliers, if you can't be near who you buy from or sell to, that's a challenge. But outside of that, talent is the biggest factor that drives location decision-making by companies growing here or by companies looking to expand or relocate here. A quick example of that is, I don't know, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago, Tracy, we sat in a conference room in City Hall with Nestle, who was considering closing their frozen pizza division north of Chicago in Illinois and relocating it to one of 4 different markets. And I remember in that first section we sat and we asked them, what are the drivers of this decision for you? What's ultimately going to make or break that deal? And they said, well, the first 3 are talent, talent, and talent. So it's critical in everything we do. They ultimately did decide Northeast Ohio had the talent they needed, moved to Solon. It was a great deal, but increasingly 80 to 90% of what we hear from companies who need to grow is they need to be able to find the talent. So what does Team NEO do around talent? Well, Jobs Ohio, as part of their new statewide talent initiative, has brought on a talent person dedicated to doing that from a transactional standpoint full-time. That's Mike Stanton in the white shirt back of the room. So he has sort of two goals. He does regional delivery coordination for Jobs Ohio talent incentives. So if you're of a certain size and are growing a company, Jobs Ohio can help you screen those employees, train those employees, and provide a host of services to you. But he also has the benefit of seeing an activity that's largely local in workforce and giving a regional perspective to the best practices around it. So he can see something that works really well on the western part of Burlington, in Sandusky, and maybe something really cool in Youngstown, and bring those two together. So great vision on that. Through our Cleveland Plus campaign, we engage with HR professionals to offer tools that market Northeast Ohio as a really good place if you want to bring talent here. So, encourage anyone who's here, who's thinking about bringing talent in or needs to grow talent here, to utilize those services. And then finally, and kind of what leads into the report, is we're trying to develop actionable research strategies driven by data on ways we can intervene in the workforce system. So what are things, concrete steps we can take to advance workforce, because it is so important to the system, and I'll show you why it's so important. We do face challenges that risk our ability to grow long term. So if you think about civilian labor force, right, people working or looking for work, the U.S. since about 1970 has almost doubled its total civilian labor force size. Northeast Ohio peaked in the early 2000s, and we've grown overall over that period of time by about 10%. So the U.S. has grown about 9 times quicker, and labor force participation to the right is also lower. So while about 61 to 61.5% of people in the U.S. are participating in the labor force, we're down to 59 and dropping fairly steadily. Since the end of the recession, we have 160,000 fewer people in the workforce than we did pre-recession. Our population isn't growing either. The trend probably looks a little more steep there than it actually is, but over the course of the past 15 or so years, the region, as we define it, has lost about 150,000 people. Workforce population highly correlated, but the reality is we're not adding enough people to offset our losses right now. So how do we start to think about, one, the people who are here who are disconnected from the workforce, often in our most distressed communities, and then two, from an international perspective, how can they offset some of that loss as well? Just compounding that and piling on now, the demographic situation is somewhat more dire here. If you look at Northeast Ohio's demographic mix versus the U.S., if we looked like the U.S., we would have about 160,000 fewer people above the age of 55 and into our 25 to 34 demographics, and we don't. So we have people leaving the workforce, poses major challenges for employers, particularly around sectors like manufacturing, as they look to reskill and retrain. And educational attainment requirements are changing too. If you look to the left, that's educational attainment requirements for U.S. jobs back in the early 70s. 16% of jobs required a bachelor's or a master's degree. If you look at projections out to 2020, 35% of jobs require a bachelor or master's degree. Northeast Ohio's bachelor's plus attainment rate is around 25%. The markets we compete with, the markets that have been growing more than we have, Cincinnati, Columbus, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, tend to have BA plus attainment in the range of 31 to 35, 36%, much closer to where these are at. And the impetus behind the Cleveland Foundation funding the Aligning Opportunities study, which we really appreciate getting an opportunity to do, was this study that looked at the need for post-secondary credentialing out toward 2020 and found that 65% of all jobs will require some post-secondary credential moving forward. And when you think about where Northeast Ohio ranks in that, really only 54% have either a credential or some college and could be or could be not close to getting the credential. So we're 11 or so percentage points below where we need to be. So to sort of understand part of the challenge in the region, we took a look, and this is a bit of an eye chart, but I'll walk you through it, at 18 key occupation groups in some of our most important sectors, so things like healthcare, manufacturing, IT, and how the needs of employers, which is the demand column, the first column of numbers, align with the types of credentials being awarded throughout Northeast Ohio. He came up with 18 occupation groups, about 360 job categories, broken out into these 18, and said, okay, these are high wage paying, some prospect for job growth, and offer long-term living wage trends. So are we pushing kids, students, adults reentering the workforce towards those in-demand jobs? And what we found was that in 15 of 18 cases, there was significant misalignment between the types of jobs being posted by employers and the types of credentials we're awarding. If you see in red, for instance, the first one, which is one of the most extreme computer and IT workers, there were almost 17,000 job postings in 2015 versus less than 6,000 credentials awarded for IT-related degrees. So there's a significant mismatch in the red. The green are fairly aligned, which only happens in 3 sectors. And in yellow, which tends to fall more into the liberal arts degrees, we are actually overproducing relative to demand. I know it's hard to see this. We have full copies of the report out on the table of collateral out there. I would encourage you all to pick one up. But we also had a secondary hypothesis, which is if we aren't aligned internally, and a big part of our mission with this and with the Plume Foundation is to now go out to institutions and talk to them about this, so we can grow the population locally here and pull them into those jobs. But it's, okay, well, if we think about how international students align with that, what perspective does that offer? Because clearly in region there's significant misalignment. So we went to 5 colleges and universities, Case Western, CSU, Kent State, Tri-C, and Baldwin-Wallace, and they were grateful enough to, or gracious enough rather, to give us their international student enrollment data. And we looked at the types of programs that international students in only those 5 institutions were enrolled in and how they aligned with the 5 most in-demand job categories: engineering, manufacturing, IT, health diagnosing, which is nurses and above, and finance. And what we found is out of the 6,100 students enrolled in just these 5 institutions internationally in 2016, 57% fell into a category where there was significant misalignment on the previous page. So that means international students are well positioned for job opportunities here should employers choose to look into hiring them. So breezing through this, overall implications and what we think we can do. One, let students in the region, and their parents maybe more importantly, really understand what's in demand, what occupations are growing, kind of where the puck is going moving forward. But that's going to take time, right? That's not, that's something you're dealing with the generation of 4th, 5th, 6th graders right now. It's not necessarily something that gets corrected overnight. And in the short term, as we look at population loss, demographic challenges, labor force participation, which is really low, can international students offer an alternative for keeping us competitive, both as an economy and with our workforce? So, no squid, thank you.
Thanks, Jacob. That was great information, and I think everyone should be asking themselves, we're talking about bachelor's and master's degree, 35% being required, and it's got to be in the right field. And if you look at that degree analysis, I think your report should go to guidance counselors because we need a lot more of that. And there's a lot of kids, because of tenure issues, colleges push them into sociology and psychology, and most of them are working at jobs not in those fields. So that could also help, but I agree, international students are the way to go. I think it's a big positive, and I appreciate that report. So thank you very much.